Committee. My name is Marquise Harris-Dawson. I chair this committee. If we can get started, Mr. Mejia, if you could start us off by calling the roll.
Hola a todos, esta es la reunión. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Mr. Mejia, how do I get his attention?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I would just like to I'd like to clarify for our interpreter that she will be interpreting for callers who are monolingual, and Tatiana, you will be interpreting for the committee. I don't believe there's an that will be interpreted in Spanish.
I'm sorry, it's just that I'm hearing way too much echo. Do you hear it too? Or is it just my...
Yes. Is there a device that you have on that you need to turn down?
I'm checking, but I have nothing. Just give me a second, I'm going to change my audio settings, just in case that's the problem.
Yeah.
But I'm not hearing it now.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, so did you catch, did you hear what my statement earlier?
Yes. I'm going to introduce myself to the Spanish speaker.
Right, once they begin calling for the particular item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Entonces, me presento, yo soy Tatiana, voy a ser la intérprete hoy. Leila estaba recordándonos que vamos a estar con un intérprete. Is it for a specific...
Yes, it's for a specific item. So when they begin talking in Spanish, at that point, then I believe it is appropriate for you to do the translation after they make their statement. I asked them to pause in between to give you enough time to be able to interpret their public comment.
All right, so it's just Spanish to English. I don't need to translate the part in English.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies, Mr. Chair. We should be ready to begin.
All right, I think we're ready this time. Mr. Mejia, can you get us started by calling the roll?
Yes, Councilman. Councilman Harris-Dawson is chair. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Present.
Councilmember Karen Price.
Present.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo is present with Lou DiMaggio.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Present.
We have a quorum, Councilman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. As we begin the Plum meeting, we will first hear from planning staff and committee members on any amendments to items on the agenda. We will then hear from applicants and appellant on agenda items and subsequently open the public comment for a minimum of 60 minutes for items on the agenda. Once public comment is closed, we will deliberate on the items on the agenda. We've called the roll. Are there any amendments to items?
There are, Councilman.
All right.
Would you like me to read them into the record?
Yes, the ones that you have, please read into the record.
Okay, so for item 7, which is a motion, Lee O'Farrell instructing for a report relative to a historic cultural monument application for the palm trees located along Larch Avenue in CD12. The instruction in the motion referenced the Department of Cultural Affairs. That should be changed to denote the Cultural Heritage Commission, in as much as they are the body that prepares those applications, Councilman. For item 8, which is a motion by Mr. Wu Krikorian, which is asking to identify zoning and housing code violations and to basically recommend deterrence tools to remedy these violations. There is a reference to a working group. That language in the motion needs to be stricken. and simply request the departments to prepare a report with recommendations. The departments being referenced: building and safety, planning, water and power, and housing, and submit those recommendations for city attorney consideration, in as much as the city attorney has been requested to also prepare and present an ordinance. And for item number 10, I believe there is amending language being submitted by the council office, CD4. I don't know if the deputy is on the line. She can read that language into the record.
Yes. Ms. Howard, are you here? Can you read that for us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm going to try not to echo too badly. The amending language for the moving clause is, I therefore move that the City Council instruct Streets LA and Department of Building and Safety, in consultation with the Los Angeles Fire Department, Department of City Planning, City Attorney, Bureau of Engineering, Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst, and any other departments deemed necessary to prepare and present a variety of enforcement options to address ingress, egress, and potential evacuation bottlenecks in hillside, very high fire hazard severity zones that are at highest risk of wildfires and most restricted in emergency vehicle access, including but not limited to preparing an ICO, Interim Control Ordinance, or any other timely approach for establishing and enforcing ongoing temporary multi-day suspensions of large vehicle hauling and staging activities on these streets during highest fire risk days in locations and at times which the Los Angeles Fire Department determines to be a highest priority. And I would be happy to email that language to anyone who needs it.
If you could make sure the clerk and the CLA gets an email on that, just so we can enter it into the record. Ms. Campos, Mr. Mejia. Thank you, Ms. Howard. Department of City Planning, do you have any amendments on agendized items?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Ken Bernstein, LA City Planning. Did have just one correction on item number 7, which is rather than correcting Department of Cultural Affairs to Cultural Heritage Commission, it should instruct Los Angeles City Planning's Office of Historic Resources to prepare the application for submission to the Cultural Heritage Commission. So that should read Los Angeles City Planning and or LA City Planning's Office of Historic Resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others from Department of City Planning?
No,
All right. Thank you so much. So those are our amendments. That moves us to 3 items where there's been a request to continue, items 12, 13, and 14. Item number 12, there is a request to continue to a date to be determined. Item number... Sorry, so item number 12, there's a request to continue the item to February 4th, 2021. Item number 13, to continue until January 21, 2021. And item number 14, request to continue until January 21, 2021. Without objection, that'll be the order on those 3 items. And then we have items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Mr. Mejia, if you could read those in the record, the chair is recommending that we adopt those items on consent.
Yes, Councilman. Item number 3 is a zone change, and this is for the construction of 8 units. This is non-controversial. It's obviously being approved on consent. Item number 3, this is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission to include the Brighton building as a historic cultural monument in CD14. Item number 4, this is, again, a cultural heritage report to include the Barron House as a historic cultural monument. Item number 5 is a Cultural Heritage Commission report to include the King Edward Hotel as a historic cultural monument. And item 6, this is a city attorney prepared ordinance to clarify the right of entry for the Department of Building and Safety inspectors to conduct inspections Councilman.
Mr. Chair, you are muted.
Oh, wow. I got to go way back. Let's see. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mejia, for reading those items. It's a recommendation to take those items on consent. If there's no objection, that'll be the order. Do you need to do a roll call on that?
Sure. We can do that. Councilman Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Yeah, I just want to say that you've got an echo on your voice, and your voice is very muted. I don't know if anyone else is hearing that, but I'm having a hard time with the audio.
Yeah, so am I, Councilman. I hear an echo.
If I may.
You with an echo, and the chair is very muted. You're trying to hear his voice.
Committee members, if you are not speaking and your mic is not get feedback, and so please mute yourself and unmute when you are ready to speak. I actually do some of the muting on this side just to make sure that the audio is smooth, but just a reminder, please. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know, that helped. Councilmember Price. Councilmember Cedillo. Okay, Councilman John Lee.
Aye.
Okay, so now it's better. We have a unanimous decision, Councilman.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Mejia. That takes us to our section for public comment. We always begin with applicants and appellants. Mr. Mejia, if you could read the instructions for public comment.
Mr. Mejia, you are muted.
Sorry. At the discretion of the Plum Chair, a total of 60 minutes has been designated for public comment on all items, and once that time comes to an end, no further public comment will be heard. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-644-6631, and then press number sign. Press number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. During the public comment, city staff will call on members of the public by the last 4 digits of their phone number. By pressing *9, callers raise their virtual hand. Once the caller hears the last 4 digits of their phone number, they will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and should be ready to speak. Once the caller is ready to speak, he or she must state their name and the items they are calling to speak on. Failure to do so will result in the call being muted and subsequently disconnected. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. This concludes my comments, Council.
All right, thank you. If we can begin public comment.
Public comment is now open. Call the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please be prepared to speak. Please start by stating your name and the item you are speaking on. Caller 1506, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Good morning, Chair and Council members. My name is Diana Coronado, and I'm speaking on item number 10 related to the Interim Control Ordinance. I'm here on behalf of the Building Industry Association, a nonprofit focused on building housing for all. We're glad to see that this motion is still focused on fire safety, but being amended to report on gathering more information on access ways in severe fire days. Thank you to the committee and the author's office for understanding the concerns related to the devastation this ICO could have had on jobs and housing. We will be reviewing today's released amendments and language and provide feedback through a formal letter and advocacy. As a reminder, our concerns have been focused on potentially stopping construction. The original motion would have eliminated the income of hardworking Angelinos by cutting thousands of construction jobs and interrupted the development of home building, affordable housing, homeless shelters, and other construction projects. As long as the new amendments move away from these effects of what would have been the old ordinance, this is much more powerful. Thank you for your time. Hopefully the feedback wasn't too disruptive. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
What is it, 1 minute?
Mm-hmm. Caller 9162. 9162, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller 9162. Okay. Moving on to caller 3757. Caller 3757, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? (3757). Caller 4232. Caller 4232, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, good morning, chairs and council members. My name is Jacqueline Silvers, and I'm speaking on item 10, related to the Interim Control Ordinance stopping construction. I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. We're glad to see this motion is still focused on fire safety, but has been amended to gather more information. We thank the committee and the author's office for addressing concerns about this ICO and its impacts on jobs and housing. We'll be reviewing today's released amendments and language, and we'll provide feedback. But just as a reminder, our concerns were obviously focused on, stopping construction that would be caused by the original ICO. We believe it would eliminate thousands of construction jobs and halt important development of home building, affordable housing, and homeless shelters. As long as the new amendments move away from this, we would see this as an improvement. Thank you for your time.
Caller 0848. Caller 0848. Can you please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you. Can you state your name and the item you wish to speak on, please?
My name is David Ewing. I'd like to speak on two items. One is general public comment, and the other is item 11.
Okay, thank you.
For general public comment, I want to comment on how these meetings are run. We're way too far into this pandemic to still be wrestling with the kinds of problems that you're having this morning, and that I hear every time I call into a council hearing or a committee hearing. You need to talk to someone who runs a radio talk show. They know how to do it. You guys don't. Please get some help. Thank you. And on to item 11, which is the Baptist Church in Venice. There is no future without a past. Social amnesia depletes the present of its richness and meaning. When we fail to honor our past, we live in denial and ignorance. When we allow our history to be erased, we give up our birthright, our understanding of who we are in the time and place we occupy. The First Baptist Church church is a monument to the aspirations and achievements of the African American community that was founded by the people who built Venice with Abbot Kinney. Please move this motion forward. Thank you.
Caller 1250. 1250, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller 5033. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Hi. Hi. Hello. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Yes, my name is Mia Lopez-Zubiri, and I'm calling to speak on item 11. Okay, thank you. You have 1 minute. Thank you. I was born and raised in Venice, and I now work at Venice Community Housing, and I'm calling to voice my strong support for designating the First Baptist Church of Venice as a Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument. The history of the African American community in Venice and Greater LA is inextricably linked to the church, and for years the church served as both a religious institution and a space for dabbling, community building, and social justice activism. Although the current building isn't the original, the site and the vibrancy of the Oakland neighborhood still contribute to the justification for a historic cultural monument at this location. I urge you to acknowledge the significance of the First Baptist Church of Venice and work more proactively to protect African American communities' history and future across the city. Thank you. Caller 6521. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller 6521.
Hello. I was told I was being muted for a second there. I'm sorry, it took me a moment. My name is People of California. I'm calling on item 11 and also a general item of public comment as well.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to point out that the history of Venice's black community and the history of Venice did not end in the 60s. There's been a huge amount of disinformation and misinformation put into the record, straight fraud by the city's planning and building overseers. There are 7 lots. They are tied together in the deed. The original church was on the 2 lots across the street. It is all one area. It is called Holmes Square, E.O. Holmes Square. It is a historical resource already recognized. However, the church itself is the heart of Venice and the heart of the black community in Venice, and it is a social infrastructure piece that is currently in danger of being privatized and destroyed. I can say for a fact that in 2011 or 12, during the Occupy movement, we had meetings there. It is therefore historically, culturally significant through 2012 at the latest. So I can't imagine how the city's historical review committee could have come to the fraudulent conclusion that this is not a historical monument, except that the historical surveys, Survey LA, have historically excluded black history from Venice. Venice is one of the only black communities on the coast. And of course, we had de jure and de facto segregation in LA. As a result, Venice is a unique cultural jewel that should be honored, as should this church. On to the general public comment item. The Brown Act is a constitutional requirement of open public meetings. This pandemic...
Sir, that's your time.
Oh, great. Well, it's unconstitutional not having public meetings.
I should have a thing that goes. Caller 3705.
My name is Gabriel Fedira. I'm the applicant and the owner of the property which is discussed on item 14, which you have decided to postpone again to January 14th.
Sir, so you have to call back on the 14th to give public comment on that item.
Well, I feel that I've been retaliated here, and that's why I'm getting all this postponement that you are approving without giving any explanation. Why is it being postponed time after time?
I can give you 1 minute for general public comment if you choose to speak.
Thank you. Yes, I do choose to speak.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Okay. On item 14, this project has been postponed for a long time. It's been on the book for over 3 years. About a couple months ago, one of my, we have scouters on the properties. One of them, my employees went there, and he was attacked with chemical thrown in his face. At that point, we sent an email to CD10 to Herb Wesson, and we got a response from Andrew Wessel that says the following, and this comment I want to put into the record. We are in receipt of your correspondence, and council member will adjudicate this issue as appropriate. Appeals are part of democracy, and your layman does not further the process along. Now, I can tell you that this email was sent back to me about an hour after I sent an email explaining the incident. What happened to my... Thank you.
Caller 1647. Caller 1647, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rick Garvey. I'm calling on item number 11.
Hi, you have 1 minute.
Thanks. So I'm a longtime Venice resident, and I'm also calling in support of designating the First Baptist Church of Venice to be a Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument. This building has played a really key role in maintaining the sense of community here in Venice. I feel like once the church was fraudulently sold, our community lost a lot, and I really hope that you guys will remedy this. I just feel disconnected without the church there, and I think it's really important that you guys support the African-American community here in Venice, and please, 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 please move this forward. Thanks.
Caller 5706. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, good morning. My name is Naomi Nightingale. Save Venice Community Organization has been fighting relentlessly for the saving of First Baptist Church, its historical identity and declaration, for almost 3 years. We hope your support of this motion will be a giant step in the direction of finally achieving our mission and goals. It is our immutable goal to keep lighted the symbolic and iconic cross of First Baptist Church that lights the night and lets everyone know that the church that our ancestors built still stands, and we still live in the community that they built, and the church is still there to let us know that we still have a home. Our goal is supported by people of all stripes, people that have a common consciousness of what's right and what must be for the sake and honoring of history of the first intentional African-American community on the West Coast, and actually the last of its kind that hasn't been totally destroyed except for plaques that
Thank you, ma'am.
Here once stood a black community of pioneers and builders that exists no more.
Ma'am, that's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caller 5167.
5167. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Okay, no call. Caller 9405. 9405. Can you please press *6 to unmute? 9405. Yes, hello? Hi, can you please state your name and the items you wish to speak on? This is Sarah Mahir, and I'm speaking to item number 11, and I have a general public comment as well. You have 2 minutes. Thank you. I'd just like to follow up for the people of California regarding the gross violations of the Brown Act and the fact that you guys are having meetings, off-agenda, secret meetings. It has been recorded and documented, and this is a complete violation of our rights. We have every right to know everything that is being discussed about for our community, and all of these secret agendas that aren't even so secret that are being pushed on us. And enough is enough. So you guys are hiding behind Zooms and technicalities, and I can't get into meetings, and we don't know how to work it. It's enough. So we need to get together, and you guys need to be accountable for that. You are in violation of the Brown Act, period. Now, on to item 11. I am beyond in favor of the designation of the historical cultural monument status to the First Baptist Church of Venice. I'm a Venice resident. I was born on Westminster Avenue. And the church has been in the community for over 111 years and was deeded by 5 families to build. African American history has been grossly overlooked by the city for years. And you understand how culturally significant something of that magnitude that was built by African Americans in the Red Line community of Oakwood was? The First Baptist Church of Venice provided everything for services for generations of people. And the same services that you guys are grappling to provide to our community, that church provided. And, you know, we talk about Black history as if it's in the past. Well, Black history is alive and well. And it lives in Venice, and it loves and it helps its community. Black land matters, Black history matters, okay? There's living history in Venice right now. Her name is Jatan Valentine, direct descendant of Irving Tabor. Built that church with Abbott Kinney. Ma'am, that's your time. Thank you. Caller 0806, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Okay, I'm here. Hi, can you state your name and the items you wish to speak on? Yes, my name is Allie Mills-Bean, and I want to speak on item 11. Okay, you have 1 minute, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Allie Mills-Bean. I'm a 30-year resident of Venice, and my husband, Orson Bean, lived here for 52 years. I am so grateful that Councilman Bonin is putting forth this motion for the Historic Commission to reconsider the First Baptist Church of Venice as a historical cultural monument. I was recently at a very moving protest for George Floyd at the church, and as I stood in that parking lot, it hit me really hard that the ground I stood on was 110 years ago the grounds of the very first African-American church ever built in Venice, built by its Oakwood residents. As hundreds of Venetians all stood there together at this particularly significant moment in history, I kept looking down and honestly felt I was standing on hollowed ground. I couldn't believe it when I heard that the church and this parking lot were in the process of being sold for private residence that might be perhaps torn down. Venice, as I assume you all know, was literally built by the hands of the residents of the historic Oakwood community. This church must definitely be recognized. Thank you so much. Okay.
Caller 9610. 9610. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller 9610. Please press star 6 to unmute. Hello? Hi, we can hear you. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Erica Lee. I am speaking on item number 11 as well, and I just want to reiterate my support for the church becoming a historic monument. I think all the things that I was planning to say have been said, and just want to echo the support that this should happen in Venice and should be considered to be moved forward. Thank you.
Caller 8990. 8990. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Okay. Hello? Hello? Hi, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
The items you wish to speak on.
Okay, I wanted to just quick support for item 5, 11, and 12, 8, and 10. And can I say something about? I wanted to support item 8 and 10 and thank council members Courts and Rue for taking good care of our communities. And I wanted to support item 5, the King Edward Hotel, item 11, the First Baptist Church, and item 12, the Stiers Bungalows, and thank AIDS Health Foundation and the Silver Lake Trust for all of their hard work, and the Cultural Heritage Commission for considering them. Thank you so much.
Caller 9162.
Hi, this is Micah Sergian.
Hi, Micah.
And I'd like to speak on item number 1 and item number 10.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to bring to the attention of you all a highly unsustainable proposed development on the border of El Sereno and South Pasadena. This development is widely opposed by members of both South Pasadena and LA. There's a private street that's being proposed in South Pasadena that would connect to the northern terminus of Lowell Avenue in Los Angeles. And the street is being approved by the city of South Pasadena without any concurrence from the city of LA. Now, I wanted to ask if the Department of City Planning has been contacted about this and request a PRA for all reports, documents, and communications with the city of South Pasadena and its agencies. The developer has also referenced the LA Fire Department and Department of Public Works, Board of Engineering during the South Pasadena meetings. But as far as I know, there's no project number or anything started in the city of LA. We're appealing the decision that South Pasadena made to approve this street with the connection to Los Angeles without any approval from LA, and they're requiring that the city of LA provide a written stance on this issue. And we're asking that the project be denied by the city of Los Angeles due to several environmental concerns and all the public outcry around this project. And with regards to item number 10, I just wanted to remind you that it's shown in ZEMIS that the parcels these developers are trying to develop are in the Hillside fire zone, but that's not being recognized by South Pasadena, and all the utilities and services are going to be provided by the city of LA, and that's not being considered in this project. So I'm asking that this item be extended until at least 50% of the seasonal rainfall has occurred. because we think that it's really important. There's no hauling or station out. But thank you.
Caller 0850. Hi, good morning. This is Lydia Ponce, and I'm an Indigenous person for Black Lives. I'd like to speak about the proposed agenda item 11 and general public comment. You have 2 minutes. Thank you. The Westminster First Baptist Church of Venice is a place where Black Lives matter, where Black history matters. We are still in service to the Creator as Black prayers matter. Every Sunday for 3 years, more of my neighbors and friends have attended every Sunday from noon to 3. We honor those who are slain in the neighborhood, and we honor their lives as our Black relatives matter. So please support the appeal, our original appeal, and designate this as a historical site for 7 generations to come. And speaking in generally, nothing on the agenda, a 70-foot square hotel is not an honor to Venice. It is an honor to someone's greed and their personal benefit financially. It is not an honor to the environment. So whatever it is that you need to do, you need to relabel that proposed Abbey County Hotel as a COVID-19 super spreader. That's all it's going to be. And my last note is that the city of Los Angeles must take good care of the jewels and gems in all of the neighborhoods across Los Angeles. We have elders and families that are still here, and they have the history in their DNA. And as witnesses to the resilience and resistance to who we are now for the 7th generation, they are the true historians. Thank you. Caller 4201. 4201, please press *6 to unmute.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on?
Yes, my name is Tomer Fedida, and I'd like to make a general comment, but also it pertains to item 14.
So you can make a general comment.
I'm going to make a general comment. However, as you know, this matter has been postponed twice now, with not one reason provided by CD10. I've made personally dozens upon dozens of inquiries to CD10 representatives to discuss these matters and continuances, and have been afforded zero reply. As you also know, and this is where the general comments come in, the time limit to take action on this matter and others expired long ago. But due to the mayor's orders, we're told this is being taken advantage of by CD10 to retaliate against applicant and this project. Just because we are in a pandemic does not mean due process rights go out the window. Again, on the record, I urge CD10 representatives, specifically Andrew Westall and Liz Carlin, to get back to the applicant to discuss the project and repeated inexplicable continuances. Applicants have incurred hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages.
That's your time, sir.
No. We need housing.
Oh, no, sir, that's your time.
We need housing, okay? And to politicize...
Caller 2523. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Margaret Malloy, I'm speaking on item 11.
Okay, you have 60 seconds, ma'am.
Please support the historic cultural monument designation of First Baptist Church of Venice. It is a cultural icon in this community. More than 1,000 people gathered there on July 5th and in the wake of George Floyd's protests, and it tells you the living history of that building. There's no other place that people gathered in this way. And Survey LA Venice and Survey LA African American Context completely failed Venice, completely failed to recognize, uplift, and protect Black history in Venice. That needs to end, and it needs to be ended in a way that developers, including developers on the Venice Neighborhood Council, stop using those documents to destroy the Oakwood community. So please support this designation, and please move forward with recognizing Black history and Indigenous history in Venice. Thank you.
Caller 3757. Caller 3757, please press star 6 to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Brenda Contreras. I'm from CD14, and I'm calling in regards to number 1 and number 10. So I just wanted to say that in Incidental, there's an illegal project going on. It's the border of South Pasadena and Incidental. And South Pasadena approved an illegal project to be, it's a private street to be built into the city of LA without getting any approvals from LA. And so it's currently being appealed by the citizens of Los Angeles, and the decision of the appeal was delayed because South Pasadena is requiring a statement from Los Angeles, and we've been trying to get a hold of Kevin DeLeon, sent so many emails, have not heard back. But we need a statement from Los Angeles, and the track number is, the street would connect to 7 landlocked tracks, and the track number for that is 5643. The lots are 26, 24, 22, 20, 18, 16. Please have that on your radar, and please make a public statement against this project. Thank you.
Caller 1250, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Maud Winchester. I'm calling regarding item number 11. I am a member of the Gregory A. Mar Vista Tract HPOZ. As a preservation advocate, I urge you to move to have the First Baptist Church of Venice designated as a Los Angeles Cultural Historical Monument. As humans, we need designated points of meaning. When my family needed to mourn George Floyd, it was to the First Baptist Church of Venice that we gathered with other community members. A historic Black church building in a historic Black neighborhood is one of those points of meaning. Please designate the church as a cultural historic monument. Thank you.
Caller 6121.
Hello.
Hi, can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on?
My name is Mariana Herrera, and I am calling about item 11.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
I'm a resident of Venice, and I want to ask to reconsider the First Baptist Church as a historical cultural monument. It holds 100+ years of Black history, and it continues to help build community. As a resident of Venice, community is extremely important. It is, community to me is not just about big businesses, corporations, and money. Community is about people, and this is what this church represents. Please don't stop listening to the minorities that live and have helped build Venice to be the diverse and vibrant place it is today. I ask the City Council to listen to and protect thousands of residents of Venice, and not just a single white wealthy man who does not need your protection. Thank you.
Caller 8187. Caller 8187, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
I'm calling to speak on item 11 and also for general comment. My name is Laura Ceballos. I'm a community organizer on the west side that was born and raised in Venice. I am in support of designating the First Black Baptist Church of Venice as a historical and cultural monument. The Oakwood area is a historical area that was predominantly black and brown. As of course we know, it was Mexican land previously. We are on indigenous land. The Oakwood area housed blacks during the restrictive covenant and segregation times while they worked in the Venice oil fields. Not preserving the First Black Baptist Church of Venice would destroy the original character of Venice and erase the black history of Venice. I would also like to speak against the Abbot Kinney Hotel building. As we know, there's a huge homelessness issue in Venice. We need to reword the word affordable housing to low-income housing. And I urge all the council members and the committee members to start building low-income housing, because this is very important to try to resolve the homelessness issue in Venice and all around Los Angeles. And the hotel would only destroy the original character of Venice. So I urge that you do not build that Abbot Kinney Hotel. Thank you.
Caller 2507, please press star 6 to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on?
Sure, my name is Mike Bravo. I'm speaking on item 11. I'm a fifth-generation Venetian, born and raised, and I want to express my support for the First Baptist Church of Venice as a cultural historical monument. And I want to echo all the beautiful comments others have made already. And the current A-frame edifice is a symbol of over 110 years of black history, and it needs to be respected. I thank you guys for your consideration, and I hope we can get it right this time. Thank you.
Caller 2319. 2319.
Hi, my name is Christopher Norman. I'm an architect and a preservationist. I'm calling on item 12. I'm calling to support the inclusion of the Steyr Staircase Bungalow Court as a historic cultural monument in LA.
Sir, item 12 has been continued, so we're not taking public comment on that item.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller 1648. 1648. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hi.
Can you hear me? Can you state your name? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Lindsay Klusik. I'm calling on item number 11. I'm in full support of designating the Venice Baptist Church of Venice, the First Baptist Church of Venice is Los Angeles a historical cultural monument. Erasing 100 plus years of black history in Venice would be a disgrace to the Venice community at large and even the world, as how big money is trying to erase rich history. Through its history, this church, this landmark, is the heart of Venice. We still have community members that have lived in Venice for 70 plus years who can tell stories of their families building the church. Their voices should be heard loud and clear. The reconsideration of the church to move forward as a cultural monument is huge, and a sign that everyone listening and everyone that is fighting is doing the work that is necessary for the church and the land to be honored and celebrated. Demolishing the church and turning it into apartment complexes is unhuman and an act of greed that does not care about the community of Venice. There are some things in some places that should be spared of the evils of gentrification, and the First Baptist Church is among one of them. Thank you.
Caller 1970.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hello. My name is William Wood. I'm a decades-long resident of Venice and a historian, and I want to speak general comment in item number 11. Generally, I want to say or echo comments that were made by Mr. Ewing and others regarding the technology and accessibility for these meetings and hearings. Also about the need for more affordable housing and less gentrification in Venice. And then specifically on item 11, I submitted comments too, but I'll read them. And just to thank Council Members Bonin and Harris Dawson and Krikorian for this motion, and to encourage you to vote in favor of it. Located in the heart of Venice's Oakwood neighborhood, a historical and historically black neighborhood founded by the people who literally built Venice, the church building has played a significant role in the history of the black community in Venice and Los Angeles, and has provided a space for community events, gatherings, and services. One of the oldest black institutions in Los Angeles, the church was founded and attended by, among others, Arthur Reese and Irving Tabor, two people who played critical roles building Venice some 100 years ago into the unique place it remains today, and whose historical contributions and importance are recognized by place names in Venice. A courtyard of cottages down the block on Westminster Avenue west of the church building that Irving Tabor built and his family maintained are protected and listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The First Baptist Church building should receive the same recognition, and the city should make the Church of Los Angeles historical cultural monument to uplift the history of Black Venice and Los Angeles and the church's centrality in that history. Thank you.
Caller 5004. Caller 5004. Can you please press *6 to unmute? Caller 5167. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Okay. Caller 9405. Caller 9405.
Yes, hi. I just want to state again for the record that I would like to designate the nomination of the First Baptist Church of Venice for a historical cultural monument.
Ma'am, what item are you speaking on?
Excuse me?
Which items are you speaking on, ma'am?
This is Sarah Mahir speaking on item number 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that, it would just be a huge disservice to all of us in the community if this church is not preserved for what it is. It is beyond massive. If you have not been inside this church, you have no idea the magnitude of what it feels like in that sanctuary and the amount of rooms. Never in life should that belong to a man, and let alone a man who was arrested for urinating on a woman. Nobody like that should live in a sanctuary. Nobody like that should turn a 111-year-old institution into a personal residence. It is absolutely disgusting. And please designate it a historical monument. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes our public comment portion.
Mr. Chair, I believe the public comments portion is ended, sir. So at this moment, it appears that our chair has lost audio. So bear with us, folks, for one moment.
How about now? All right. Thank you to our staff for facilitating a great public comment section. Thank you for everybody who called in. Really appreciated a lot of the feedback and passion. Mr. Mejia, we can begin consideration of our remaining items with item number 1.
Yes, item 1 is the Director of Planning's weekly report, Council.
All right, I think we're joined by the esteemed Mr. Kevin Keller.
Good morning, council members. Thank you very much. Kevin Keller, City Planning Executive Officer. Just a brief report for the committee today. Wanted to share that the Planning Department has released 2 draft ordinances that are circulating for public input. The first is our local emergency code amendment. This is in response to a motion from Councilmember Bloomfield and will provide relief and flexibility to help our small businesses respond and recover from COVID-19 related impacts. It will extend utilization and expiration times for conditional use permits, offer alternative parking calculations for changes of use in commercial zones, and will suspend certain requirements for valet and off-site parking. We do have a public hearing scheduled for November 9th. All of our information is on our website, and we are tentatively forecasting that for our Planning Commission in December. So hopefully that will be in front of the committee soon. And secondly, a little more focused, but just as important, we do have a draft release of our Private Detention Center Prohibition Ordinance. This ordinance was released October 23rd. It will have a hearing on Thursday, November 12th in the evening. And this is an ordinance that would explicitly prohibit, as an accessory use, the operation of private detention centers in the city. So we do anticipate also taking that to our commission in December and being in front of the committee in the new year. So thank you very much for allowing us to share that brief update. Happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions or comments from members on Mr. Keller's report? All right, seeing none, we'll receive and file the report and thank Mr. Keller and look forward to hearing from the Department of City Planning in the coming weeks. Mr. Mejia, I believe that takes us to item number 7.
Item 7, Councilman, I believe we already acted on that, which was a motion by Councilman Lee, and we clarified that it's the Planning Department that needs to prepare the application.
All right, and we've adopted it?
I believe so, Councilman, but if not, we can reconsider it, if that's your pleasure.
Yeah, I think we just read the amendments. I don't think we adopted it.
Very good.
All right.
So
if there's no discussion, I'll move that we adopt.
As amended, Councilman.
All right. I think we can call the roll.
Yes, Councilman Marquise Harris-Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield. Councilmember Karen Price. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have, I didn't hear from Mr. Price, but we have enough votes. It's a unanimous decision.
All right. Thank you so much. That takes us to item number 8.
Yes, Councilman. Item number 8 is let's see here. Item number 8 is a motion by Councilmember Ryu, and that motion is instructing Building and Safety, Planning, Water, and Power to report back on zoning, housing, and code violations during the COVID pandemic.
All right, so I believe we've heard from Department of City Planning on this. Mr. Glesney. We've heard from Ms. Howard from CD4 on it. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee members for staff or the council office? All right, seeing none, I'll move that we adopt and remove reference to the creation of a working group to instruct the departments of Building and Safety, Planning, Water and Power, and Housing prepare a report with recommendations and submit those recommendations for city attorney considerations to prepare and prevent the ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Karen Price. I think that's a yes. Councilmember.
Yes, that's an aye.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote.
All right, that takes us to item number 9.
Yes, Councilman, item 9 is a report from Building and Safety. It's in response to a motion by Councilman Blumenfield, Krikorian, Koretz. It has to do with temporary sign violations and a citation enforcement suspension process during the COVID pandemic.
All right, we have somebody from our Department of Building and Safety to give content on this matter.
Yes, good morning, Councilman. This is Frank Lahr, Department of Building Safety Code Enforcement Bureau, council members, other council members as well. So we received this council motion requesting recommendations primarily based on signage that was being used by businesses and restaurants to relax enforcement of temporary signs. We've already put that into play. We are currently not enforcing any violation of temporary sign violations or requiring permits on those signs. So we've actually already implemented that. At one time, prior to us taking that action, there were some orders to comply that were issued. So we've rescinded those orders. We've rescinded all fees associated with those orders. So we've already accomplished those items, which are 3 and 4, in the motion. Item 1 and 2 are more about relaxation of general enforcement items. And what we've done is in our report back, we provided a list of items that we believe should be prioritized due to life and safety extremity type of concerns. So we provided that in the report. And actually, we, for the most part, implemented that as well with our current code enforcement policy. So if you agree with what we have in the report, we're prepared to move forward.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from members on this? Mr. Blumenfield?
No, I just think it's good that we're trying to work with folks who are suffering in this pandemic and making sure that they can communicate with their businesses, which is the reason for allowing the temporary signs, but also to make sure that as we relax some of these quality of life things, we don't let other things that are health and safety go by the wayside, because we want to make it easy for folks to get through this pandemic, but we also have a strong responsibility for health and welfare and safety, and I think you're threading the needle in a good way. So I appreciate that and the work that you all have done in response to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blumenfield. If there are no others, I just had a question regarding this, the prioritization of the non-inhabitable structure or the illegal structures that people were living in. I just was trying to figure out how you arrived at that as a priority, especially given our situation with evictions, and how that program works together with HCID and other appropriate agencies at the county.
Yeah, so, there could be other changes of uses that would be related to structures that didn't have a habitable type of occupancy. So let's say one business form changes to another type of use where change of use would be required. We don't consider that to be a life safety issue, but when a structure that was never built to house, habitability, when that is converted and we have people actually living inside these structures, there could be some very serious life safety concerns. There's egress, smoke detectors, many things that could cause a hazard. So that's why we have focused or let that remain as a priority. Now, during our enforcement efforts, we do have other processes to provide some relief. We have extensions of time. We have a appeal process, modification process. So we do have a number of other processes that will, I think, take into account your other concern about people being in these structures and not being able to move during COVID. We also work with HCID, with relocation assistance. So there is other processes for your concern.
Well, thank you for that. I just, I assume everyone is doing this, but I want to make sure we communicate it broadly, where the city is not going around looking for people living in garages with no fire smoke detectors, and then putting them in a position where they live on the street. So that is not the aim of this. I think you've confirmed that, but I wanted to double check. Excellent. He's nodding his head yes, everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So, Mr. Mejia, I believe we have a recommendation on this one to approve.
Yes, Councilman, would you like me to read it into the record?
Please.
Yes, so for item number 9, to approve the Department of Building and Safety recommendations as enumerated in the report, to prioritize its code enforcement activities, to focus on the highest priority issues as noted in the October 14, 2020 report during the COVID-19 crisis, to suspend enforcement of temporary signs during the COVID-19 crisis, to rescind all orders to comply citations for temporary sign violations that were issued from March the 4th, 2020 through July 24th, 2020.
Excellent. So I'll move that. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfeld. Can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Kern Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 10.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 10, this is a motion by Mr. Ryu. It's requesting an interim control ordinance to suspend ongoing construction not necessary for the provision of utilities or water supply. And this impacts properties located in the hillside and very high fire hazard severity zones. Council District 4 read amending language into the record, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. So we have that amending language. Do we have a report from Department of City Planning on this?
This is Shauna Bonson, Deputy Director. Not a report, but just to let you know that we are collaborating with CD4 and the relevant departments on this request.
All right. Anything further from Ms. Howard, CD4?
Yes, Council Member. I would like to note that we would request that the item be moved to the Public Safety Committee, be referred over there, because the relevant departments are not planning an LADBS. They will be partners in this effort, but primarily Streets LA will take lead on authoring the report and working with LADBS and other departments and the fire department. And I also just wanted to note that the focus of the motion is specific to ingress and egress, making sure that on our most constricted hillside streets that the fire department is able to deploy there safely and quickly during the highest risk time period. So it'll be something, the proposal that is being discussed will be something like a red flag day, but specifically for large construction vehicles in the public streets and staging on public streets to ensure that there's no potential conflicts to get a fire truck or an ambulance up there as needed during the time periods we know they're at the most risk. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. So we've got the amendment by CD4 with the addition, Mr. Mejia, that it be referred to the Public Safety Committee as well.
Yes, the clerk can write a letter on behalf of Plum and transmit it to public safety.
Excellent. So we will request such a letter. And so we'll move adoption of this item. Do we need to read that into the record, Mr. Mejia?
We read it. We read the language into the record previously.
Okay.
So we're good, Council.
All right. So it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Can we call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Karen Price. I see Councilman nodding. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
All right, that takes us to item number 11.
Yes, Mr. Chair, item 11 is a motion by Mr. Bonham, Harris Dawson, Krikorian. It's relative to the consideration of the First Baptist Church in Venice as a historic cultural monument.
Mr. Chair.
All right.
Mr. Chair, would it be possible to take a brief recess before you take on item 11, as we have been discussing, and I have to reconnect us?
We got disconnected?
The Zoom number was muted, and we still have one speaker to hear.
All right. Yes, we'll do whatever you just said.
Okay,
yes,
sir.
We'll
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by you are in the meeting now. There are 9 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing. You have been muted by the meeting host and cannot unmute yourself. You are unmuted.
Mr. Chair, we are connected now.
All right, can you hear me? They can't hear me. Not again. Sorry. I can't.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for confirming, because I was about to log off. All right, so we've got, on this one, we've got CD11, we've got Mr. Bernstein, and we've got the owner's representative. So we'll begin with the owner's representative, if we can get them in to the meeting.
It'll be a moment. I'm trying to locate your number right now.
All right, so Mr. Bernstein, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Councilman Ken Bernstein with LA City Planning, Office of Historic Resources. We do not have a report on this item. This is an initiation by Councilmember Bonin of a previously declined nomination for the Venice First Baptist Church. We look forward to taking in the supplemental information and processing this back to the Cultural Heritage Commission and City Council. We also want to thank the Venice and Oakwood communities for their very eloquent testimony this morning, and look forward to working with everyone on this nomination.
All right. We have representatives from CD11 on this.
Yes, Jason here. Did you want to wait till the applicant representative speaks?
I don't think we have them on the line, so.
I just located this caller. We're ready to go.
All right, there you go, in the nick of time. So we'll hear from the owner's representative now.
So the owner's representative, Robert, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Robert Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Robert Thibodeau, can you please unmute yourself? Press *6.
Hi, I'm the owner's representative. My name is Robert Thibodeau. So we're here today to, because of the motion to reconsider. I have a statement from the owners to read. So I'm going to read it verbatim, and then I've got a comment myself. So the statement is, Plum Council representatives, this is from Jay. I have two primary points to address with you today. The first is a notice that as of earlier this week, the previous owners, the Penske family, have sold both 685 and 688 Westminster to a real estate developer. The new owner and my client is LP Venice Development Corp. Secondly, I remain extremely unclear as to why we are meeting and revisiting this matter again. As each of you know, the 685 Westminster property has been visited, inspected, and thoroughly reviewed by the officials from the Historic Cultural Commission. Their report found the current property did not come close to meeting the criteria of the Cultural Heritage Ordinance and requirements outlined. But subsequently, the goals of preservation were met in plan, not yet in execution, by the HCC working with the former owners on architectural plans that would preserve the facade of the building, and additionally on placement and aesthetic of memorializations for the site. Since the last HCC findings, I don't believe the criteria has changed, and this seems more politically motivated than factually motivated. But we are willing to support your decision to review it again. Then he mentioned for me to add what I'd like to add. So I'd personally like to add that we have worked hard in cooperation with the city and community to preserve the character of the church building, and will continue to do so in the future. OHR staff has been a pleasure to work with. That said, the Plum decision today has the potential to further delay the much-needed renovations. Last week, there was a fire in the alley behind the building, and there has been frequent break-ins, trespassing, and vandalism. I would like to urge that whatever decision is made today, please keep in mind that a total redraw of the proposed project would likely have the result of prolonging the process and keeping the property vacant for an additional year or more. I don't believe this is really a benefit to anybody. And so that's what I'd like to add. You know, we're fine with working with OHR or whomever the city designates the appropriate person. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Thibodeau. I think now we have comments from CD11.
Hi, good morning, honorable council members. Jason Patrick Douglas, senior planning deputy with the office of council member Bonin, council district 11. The council member wishes to express his strong support for the community in designating the First Baptist Church of Venice as a historic cultural monument. The First Baptist Church exemplifies the significant contributions of the Black community to the cultural and social history of Venice, and is associated with the lives of historic personages important to the Oakwood community. The roots of the First Baptist Church can be traced back to the trailblazer Arthur Reese, who was credited as the first African American to move to Venice in 1903. Arthur Reese became a creative fixture, establishing Venice of America's identity as a festive destination, as well as one of the patriarchal figureheads of Venice's Black community. In his success, Arthur became a landowner. He built a home and soon called on friends and family to move to Venice. Successively, one by one, the Black community of Venice was organically established. In the late 1920s, Arthur presented plans for the site of the initial edifice of the First Baptist Church across the street from the current site before you today. As the community became more prominent, so did segregationist policies, racially restrictive covenants, and harassment from neighboring white communities and police. The successes of Venice, a community built for Black... Are we still connected?
You're still on, Jason. Let's do it.
Through black labor and black intellectual capital, was kept out of reach from black residents. Despite this, Oakwood was thriving, and by the late 1960s, black Venetians made up the majority of residents in Oakwood. This was when the First Baptist Church approached its peak with over 600 parishioners. To meet the growing need of the congregation, a new church edifice was completed in 1968. Reverend E.L. Holmes ceremoniously walked the congregation from the old church across the street to the new church that exists today. However, by the 1980s, Oakwood's black residential population sharply declined decade to decade. As the black population declined, so did the church's parishioners. Longtime black Venetians were being displaced from the community as a result of policing, downzoning, and developmental pressures. However, despite this backdrop, the First Baptist Church has always served as a spiritual anchor, a community center, and a beacon of hope and support for the community. It will forever be tied to the black community's intergenerational achievement and represents a piece of Venice's history that must be honored. To this end, our office would like to recognize and thank Naomi Nightingale, Laddie Williams, Miguel Bravo, Tommy Walker, Kendra Moore, Eileen Archibald, Sonny Lloyd, Ingrid Mueller, Chachan Valentine, Pam Anderson, Carol Powell, and the countless other champions of this community, past and present, who have tirelessly fought to protect, preserve, and promote the quality of life in Oakwood through the acknowledgement and celebration of black, brown, and indigenous people's culture, history, and contributions. The council member hears you and he stands with you in celebrating the history of the Oakwood community and honoring the church that is a part of the social fabric and belongs to the black community. With that, we thank you, committee members, for your consideration of this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Bernstein or CD11 from members of the committee? I hear nodding heads no. I don't have any questions or for the staff, but I did want to thank Councilman Bonin and his office and everybody who called in today to recognize the importance of this edifice. The trick with historic designations is sometimes one set of people's history may not be known to the folks making the decisions about what's historic and what's not. And so there is no question that in the United States, and especially here in Los Angeles, the black church, to this day, the black church is the only independent, all African-American financed institution we have. And in almost every city and in every section of every city, you hear a similar story to the one Mr. Douglas put forward, whether it's Second Baptist Church near downtown Los Angeles, or First AME Church in the West Adams district, or this church in Venice, wherever, Spring Hill Baptist Church in CD1 in what is now the MacArthur Park neighborhood. There's Pacoima Baptist Church with the Brodus family. In all of these neighborhoods where you saw African-American neighborhoods, the church was one of the first and main and most lasting institutions. And so to the extent that we can do something in Venice to memorialize that, I think it's wholly appropriate, and I'm completely supportive of the councilmen and the community members who want to do that. So I'll move that we adopt the item. Is there a second? Second. Excuse me, seconded by Mr. Cedillo. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, Councilman Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Karen Price. I see a nod. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee. All right, we got a unanimous vote, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mejia, can you confirm that completes our business for today?
That completes all our items, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.